Welcome to Positive Filter with your host, Philip Wilkerson, a podcast that focuses on friends, family, health, and career with a little self-help around the way. Please join me in this journey for self-improvement, and I hope that what I have to share will make you a better person, thus making the world a better place. Hey, Positive Filter listeners, it's Philip Wilkerson back with another episode of Positive Filter. It's your boy, Philip, a.k.a. The Illest, a.k.a. Ill Phil, a.k.a. I got a tattoo of Austin, Texas on my leg, a.k.a. I'm the most random person you ever meet. And today I'm joined by Andy. I'm going to give him some nicknames right now. Andy, a.k.a. the most dapper career counselor you'll ever meet, a.k.a. Mr. 757, a.k.a. fellow Duke Dog. Now, me and Andy are both career professional development professionals. I think I said professional twice. We both work in higher ed, and we both work in the realm of professional development, helping young professionals start their career from college into the real world. And so we met in career associations. And we, I love to, when I do people for the, meet people for the podcast, I say, you got something, you're pretty dope. Would you like to be on my podcast? And Andy is pretty dope himself. But before I get into the podcast, while I have Andy on the show, I would just give you a little shout out. He is one of the most dapper counselors I've ever met. His style, he dressed ready to impress at all times. So I was like, man, we have to definitely get you on a podcast about that. So for the listeners, Andy, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me on, Philip, and thank you for all those accolades there. Maybe not the best dressed out there, but I do strive for it. But hello, everyone. My name is Andy Bark. I've been a career advising professional for a little over a decade now, and first time that I've been invited to actually speak about it, so this is a real treat for me.
Well, dope. So I did say a bunch of accolades. I did say AKA fellow Duke Dog, so we gotta show love to the JMU Dukes. But most people that go into higher ed come at it from a different, what I would say, perspective. Like, no one really says, you know what, my dream job in this world is to work at a college. They think like kids when they grow up, they want to be like firefighters or policemen or doctors or whatever. But no one says, you know what, my dream job when I was 7 years old was to be a career counselor. So kind of take us through the career path, maybe the abridged, was it not unabridged version? Unabridged? I don't know which one's shorter, the Cliff Note version of how you got to where you were in regards to higher ed.
That gets into, I love metaphors. I use those all the time, and one that really fits into this is being concise about it. So I'll try to wrap that up. But I graduated, again, as Duke Dog, back in 2005, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. I had a great degree in communications and interpersonal relationships, but didn't know how I wanted to use that. Took a job that was related to things I did in my social life with clubs and organizations that I did enjoy. And I wasn't in there for very long, but the day before I was let go from that job, and yes, I'm a career counselor, and I'm telling you about the time I was fired. But the day before, I found out about higher education, student affairs, and that's when I learned about how to get a graduate program. And as I studied that, I learned more about possibilities. And something I kept finding my way back into was getting into career advising, because I saw that not as, oh, let's get you a job. I saw it more as, let's make sure you're using what you're learning to the best of your ability. So kind of like you become the thing that you wanted to have.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a little bit about my path.
That really resonated with me. It's kind of interesting. Most people that go into career counseling, found that identity thing for themselves. For instance, when I was going through grad school, I had no clue what I wanted to do. And I didn't even know there was a niche. And I took one of in my graduate program, I took a career development class, a career counseling class, because how much career identity is linked to counseling. And we learned all these theories Strong and Hollins and value, Brown's values and all this stuff. And I was like, wow, this is dope. I didn't even know this was a thing. and while we were doing the exercises in the class, like, making our, journey maps and all this stuff, I was like, wow, this is dope. And basically, I was helping myself because I was getting into I was a person that had no career identity. So when I was doing the class myself, getting that help for myself, I was like, wow, this is what I like. This is the niche of counseling I like. This is the part of helping other people that I like because it's helping me. And that's kind of how I found my journey into career development, particularly for young people. How about for yourself? Was it kind of similar?
Well, it was started with my graduate assistantship in grad school. Got into the career advising office, and that was where I started to learn some of the basics. And then finding when I started working in another college right out of grad school, I got involved in a department that I was heading up that was more about orientation focus, but it kept going back into career advising because I just fed into it in terms of flow of students. And then my next position after that was more focused on it with youth, and I wanted to get back into four-year public university, and I did, and it's been more concentrated, more focused even now, because where I am as a career counselor, certified in the strong, having gone through doing Myers-Briggs testing, whatnot, assessments, and so many conversations with so many students going in so many directions, I really do enjoy that aspect of it all, and it's just gotten more and more focused as I've gone along. So it was this big general idea, and just in my own career path, it's become that much more focused.
Where's the part that you zeroed in then? Where's the focus? Obviously you're right. Yeah, there's so much of a wide realm. You can say like you said, the value. You can learn all these different assessments, but then maybe there's a certain population of students you like to work with, or that focus. Like I like to work with first gen students or something, or I like particularly for me, I really find that in regards to that career realm, the career development, I really thoroughly enjoy more. Not more, but I do definitely empathize with young black men like myself because I see myself in those people. So if I did have a career niche, I would say it's more like men of color that are like me, that I can give that jump start to. That could be kind of my focus. What was your focus?
Mine is still, even I say focus, it's gotten more focused. I wouldn't say if it has one focus, because I'm still branching out, working with first and second year students, those who are figuring out what major they want to study, and those who are trying to decide, now that I've decided on the major, what do I want to do in terms of a career, and even into the alumni who are coming back saying, I graduated recently, but I'm not really sure what I'm doing here. So when I say focus, I went from working with remote students who were all over the country and an online university, got that centered down to at least be local, but I was working through Southside Hampton Roads in a service center that was wide open. If you were between the ages of 14 through 24 and you needed any kind of help, you didn't even need to make an appointment. But now it's much more focused down to 18 to 22, maybe a few alumni age as well, and more concentrated to that audience of, I just don't know. I just know that I'm here, but I'm not quite sure I know what I want to do with that. And I guess the focus turns into more of trying to assess those interests, what those really mean, what is their significance, and how that can be turned into a career path where you start putting those interests to work. So I'd say if I had to really boil it down into the focus, that's what it is finding those interests and translating that into what's it going to look like in reality, in the adult world, as a lot of people talk about it.
Yeah, I love that. And then, you did speak upon, I'm learning a little bit more about your experiences. What were some of the struggles that you had when you had to do distance career counseling? Because, for me, I love the work in person. I love the work one-on-one. I love being on the ground. That's one of the things I love most about my job is the one-on-ones with the students. I also love, get me in front of everybody. Your boy's loud, so I love getting in front of a crowd as well. I love talking into an audience. I love presentations. So I would probably definitely struggle personally with doing all this stuff online and not having that one-on-one personal face-to-face interaction. Did you struggle with that online stuff, or was that, did you enjoy it? Give us, the listeners, a little bit about how that, remoteness What's for you?
Well, I really do agree. I'm a ham, and I love being in person to high five somebody when they have to celebrate success. And when it was online, though, it was really a struggle to communicate the importance of you're starting off in this journey into higher education to improve yourself, and here's everything you've got to do. Like, these are your responsibilities. This is, we're going to be here to help you in any way that we can, but you have to initiate this. You have to take these steps. And if you need help, you have to let us know about that. But then also when it came time to say, hey, you made it, you've done it, I can't reach across the nation and give somebody that high five and say, way to go, good job. And that communication overall, and not just of information, but of feeling, was really not there. We weren't equipped to do it very well. And being in the face-to-faces, I'm sure you will attest as well. You can communicate your own excitement, your own enthusiasm to somebody. Yes. You can communicate the gravity of their future to them.
100%. 100%. You know, I like to call myself the Flavor Flav of career counseling because I get so hyped. Like I think I get too hyped. I get too hyped for the kids. Like seriously, if you work with anyone or heard about anyone that I've been around, I always, you know, even on social media, I'm like, everyone's saying, like, you doing big things. I see you. Like, literally, I say that to, like, kids. Like, I see you doing big things. And I definitely do. Definitely, you know, I can say that online. I can say that on Twitter. I can say it on a LinkedIn post. But there's nothing like telling someone to their face, like, I see you doing big things, and actually telling that person, like, or a student or a person to their face, like, you know, you put in the work, and I'm very proud of you. And I like to say, like, too, like, you did it. Like, I ain't really do nothing. I just helped facilitate it. But you're right, like, that ownership on them, like, they took the steps. I think that, quite honestly, why when I was doing my counseling program, I also gravitated toward the career realm rather than, like, you know, like therapy, because, you know, while people are, you know, working their issues out, which we all know are concurrent with career, like anxiety, depression, all that stuff coexists with your career path, right? Like, if you don't know what you're doing. But the thing I like the most about career counseling out of all those other things is that I felt like I could tangibly say, okay, you're depressed or anxious, right? I understand that, and we can process that. But here's some boom, 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 some tangible actions that you can do, take charge of yourself, that you can do at least to get yourself a job. Now, you know, we all know there's no 100% guarantee that every student we see is going to get a job, but at least we know, boom, 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 we can give them tangible steps, and they'll be in a better place than when they started. Whether that's their self-esteem, whether that's just like knowing how to write a cover letter or a resume, like, we tangibly could see that growth. And so I really have a hard time when I help someone and I give them my best effort to help them, and literally nothing happens. And you'll see that, I think, more in, like, therapy. But with career, like, I literally see a student come back and, like, wow, your writing on your resume has gotten really better, or you seem a lot more confident when you have to talk about what you've done and your interview skills. So I kind of gravitated to that on a selfish way because I felt like I could see the people I'm helping, I could see their progress, and that makes me feel good. Like, it makes me feel good.
And I'd respectfully argue that say I don't think that's selfish at all, because the hardest thing from all my time in trying to advise and to be that responsible person who has something to communicate to somebody else is to know yourself and who you are. And it's so much easier to sit in your chair of the authority to communicate something out to somebody else, and then you have to take that and do that for yourself too. So even I am still working on that, and I think that's actually still correct, that I'm trying to know who I am and how to communicate that, because it's going to change and it's going to evolve, and I need practice at that. But in trying to make that happen for students, sometimes I would find myself doubting, like, well, here's all these resources here, and this is how we're working on a resume, and this is what we use for a cover letter, and almost like again and again and again and again, and I have to remind myself that this is thousands of different students, so this is thousands of different conversations I'm having. Same resources, but how it all gets applied, how it all comes together, it's always going to be different.
Oh, I totally agree with that. Because sometimes I definitely, and on the flip side, you know, there's pros and cons to everything. I feel like because we work in career counseling, there could be I don't know if it's ad nauseum, is that the correct word? But you just keep on seeing the same thing and saying the same thing over and over again. That you're like,
Mhm.
am I being individualistic enough to help this person? Or I'm just being a cut like, am I just copying and pasting and this
Mhm.
help? And so what I really need to try to do sometimes is I try to reframe like, what is the individual aspects that I'm helping this individual student with? This maybe it's the individual job, maybe it's the individual career part, maybe it's the individual experiences that they're bringing in. Like that kid went to a certain high school. Like I try to find what is unique about that student so that when I help them, I feel like I'm not just being a cut and paste helper. Like I feel like I'm being a more,
Mhm.
while my skeleton and my template of how I help people is very similar. I'm filling in very unique things, and I'm helping this person on an individual level that's unique to them. But there's times where I'm like, damn, this is the same as kind of appointment. I feel like I've heard this, I've heard this case multiple times. Like these kids coming in, they're like, oh my god, my life is, I don't know what to do with my life. And I'm like, yo, you know how many times I heard that? Like,
Mhm.
you know what you're doing with your life. Like I almost like I have to catch myself from minimizing that anxiety of a student. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you think you don't know what you're doing
Exactly.
with your life. You're gonna figure it out. You'll be all right. But to that kid, that's that kid's whole world. You know what I'm saying? Like to me, looking back, I'm like, I try to remember like, okay, like maybe because I've seen it 1,000 times, I could tell that kid, from a adult standpoint, like, yo, chill, you good, you'll be all right, like by next year you'll be all right, you won't even remember this. But like you have to think yourself, put that self in that situation. Like, do you
Oh
remember what it
yeah.
was like do you remember what it was like when you didn't have no job, or you didn't know what you was doing with yourself, or do you remember when you just graduated and you had no clue what you were doing, so you moved back in home with your parents? Like I had to remember what I felt
Mhm.
like when I was doing that. Like, do you remember when you didn't know what you was doing and you had to go to grad school? And so I try to really humble myself to be like, no, this is not a cookie cutter kid. This is an individual. Do you feel that same way sometimes?
Yes. 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 So very much. You got to forget your own perspective and where you're sitting, and remember where they were. Because it seems so minor, it seems so small, but there's nothing after you. They think graduation, and then that's it. You're either going to go forward and go great, or you're going to fail, and that is not
Mm-hmm.
true. That's not true at all. It's the same thing when
No. Yeah.
we have the conversations about finding a major and a career path just when you're still in college, and we talk about career planning as a lifelong process. And it
Yeah.
really is, because one decision, one job you accept, or one employer telling you, no, we're not interested, we're going forward with another candidate, yeah, that
Mm-hmm.
can affect your career path a bit, but doesn't make anything solid. So
No. No. And I
just
love.
one thing that can happen here or there can influence. And when you step down and you change your perspective, that can be a huge influence on people too.
Yeah, and I try to reframe it too, like, like I am in, my mid 30s, and I'm like, dang, I don't really know, am I doing what I want to do for the rest of my life and all that stuff, this big existential questions and all that stuff. And then I have to like pull
Mhm.
myself back and like I listen to like podcasts and stuff, and I like to listen to one of my favorite podcasts is Master's Class. It's like Oprah Winfrey, and all she does is talk to famous people. And like
Mhm.
that really helps me because I was like, I look at these people at the end of their, the tail end, that iceberg analogy, and you think like, dang,
Mhm.
this person's at the top of their game. They're in a master's class, and then you listen to their biography, like these people had no clue what they were doing, and it's like, we you have to give yourself patience to say like, okay, maybe I'm doing this in my 30s, maybe in my 40s I did all these different things, maybe in my 50s I'm doing all these different things, like if I really need to look at the big picture of my life, um, as long as I'm moving forward and progressing, I don't need to have it all figured
Mhm.
out. And I love that lifetime process mindset. But on the flip side, though, we are living day to day too, so it could be very overwhelming or underwhelming when you think that the little actions that you do today don't really mean much.
And and here we go. It's an individual case. Like if that were a person, I'd want to sit down and talk to them and say, all right, yeah, you can do one thing. There's a legitimate argument there to say you do something illegal, it's really going to affect your career options afterwards. But
Yeah.
going into that day to day, you do have to consistently maintain your own kind of mindset of what it is that you are doing, and making sure that whatever it is that you're doing, as you said, it's progress, and it is something that is, or I say, relevant. And if you're going to really get satisfaction out of the work that you're doing or some part of your life, it needs to be really relevant, and you need to be choosing some kind of job or job possibility that is going to be satisfying, and you are going to take things away from it. Because just like we're talking about, we have to have a conversation. We have to make sure that it is it appeals to the perspective of that client, of that student. That's where that relevance comes into it. And if we're going to be repeating things back and forth and again and again and again, it's not going to be the same from one person to the other, but that's up to us. We have to make sure that's relevant, and that's the thing that we're doing. And that's there's one little idea that I've been trying to define a little more clearly, and I think it's a philosophy of something called function and context, where your function, for each person, your function is your purpose. It's what you are here to do, and it's the thing that no matter what you do, whatever job you get into, whatever company you work for, you always get involved in that somehow. You try to find who's doing this kind of work and how do I get in on that. And then the context is always just going to be the job, the title, literally where you fall in the organization. That's your context. And you're going to have many different contexts, but your function is something that needs to evolve. It doesn't need to completely flip and change, because that's drastic. But real relevance, real satisfaction is going to come when that function and that context are one and the same.
No, I love that. I love that. And I'm the king of randomness, and I'm gonna pivot real quick. But like I said, one of the things that totally attracted me to have you on this podcast was your style, your dress. And so I want to bring it back. I mean, like, I don't know if we can. This is not a video podcast. I wish it was, because I'm pretty sure in my mind you're already looking sharp in wherever you're recording. We're recording over, remotely right now, but I know he's sharply dressed. Where did that automatically start with your first job, or when? Like, you take us through the story about this. Now, mind you, I don't want to set the scene. I'm not really a good visual person, but tell them. Like what you would typically wear, and give the listeners a picture of what you kind of wear, and then how'd you come to that style?
Oh wow! See, I'm going to get a little particular and say, and that's correct, but the style is also going to depend on the weather. It's going to depend on the mood. It's going to depend really on the event that you're going to and what you're going to be doing. But when I was a kid, I don't know maybe one movie it was, or if it was watching old Batman cartoons or something, but I liked people wearing the fedoras and spats on shoes and pinstripe suits. Like, I liked that. And I found out later that was an Art Deco kind of style. And that sort of look went through the 30s and the 40s and the 50s and the 60s. And I was lucky enough to meet and marry a wonderful woman who has that same sense of style and appreciation for that period. And she really literally equipped me with a lot of the things that need to pull all that together. And I learned enough from her to see in how it all comes together as well. So that, again, like we said before, it happens with practice, that you just figure out how you want to put this together. So people look at me and say, how long did it take for you to pull all this together? And I say, it's like 5 minutes, and I lay it out the night before, and I just put it on. But it's an understanding of, like, what goes with what. So, like, even today, I'm in some tanned loafers. I've got some wild socks on because I like the wild socks. They can have stuff on them that doesn't match, and it's something that catches people's attention because they're looking at you from head to toe. By the time they get to toe, they say, "What is that?" Then they know you're a little different. But I've got my brown seersucker pants on because it's summer, it's hot. I'm in a light pink, white collar and cuff shirt because I dig cufflinks and the opportunity to wear those. And I've got a nice flowery tie on to go with it. So even if we don't have students coming in today that I'm going to be having appointments, I still like to keep this look going. It puts me in the right kind of mindset for what I'm going to be doing. And if I can keep regularly wearing that, that keeps, again, that consistency going for me, because they say clothes do make the man, but it's more like the uniform, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It puts you in that kind of state, and you want to keep that state going.
I love that. And I mean, quite honestly, you said a lot of things that I can resonate that's even beyond just the dress, but like one is uniform. You know, my dad was in the Army 30 years, and that was his persona, you know, like he dressed, he's wearing his fatigues, he did that, and it is something about what you wear, or maybe just your posture, your shoulders up. It becomes part of your character.
Very much so.
So my dad, being a military guy, you know, you knew he was about discipline. You knew he was about order. You know, he had the buttons that always went down perfectly down the middle of symmetry down his body, and then he had the belt buckle, and his shoes was always shined. Yeah, and his shoes was always shined. Now, mind you, I'm sloppy as hell, so I don't know what happened to me, but my dad, he exhibited a man of character, and just, you know, all, like, you know, if you think of what the military is, I think the dress embodies that. And so you said that too, that uniform. And while your uniform is not the same as the same BDUs that you wear every day, it puts you in a mood. And you did say that too. What kind of mood does your clothing put you in, and how do you relate that mood to your actual job in regards to career counseling?
Put together. If I'm going to be the person in the seat telling you about what you need to do, this is how it works, and explaining that, I don't want people just to assume, oh, this is the person with that title. I want them to see somebody who has it put together. They are looking professional. They look like the person that you should be going to for help. So, and then whatever I say or I do or how I adapt things, that's totally up to me. But I want to convey this look of style, and in some cases that style, even as you said, the most dapper out there. And I'm not bragging, but I have been accused of that before too.
100%.
And I like it, and I like to maintain that kind of look too, but not so that people call me dapper, but because when it stands out. Like there's another guy next to me in a suit too, but people still look at me and say, wow, really dapper on there. It's that little difference, or maybe even going a little too far. I want that to happen, and I don't just want to look professional. I want to look a little unexpectedly professional, or unexpected style in that professionalism. So there's more than just, yes, I'm checking off all the boxes of being a professional, and I've added a little of myself to it as well.
Well, I love what you said too, because it is unexpected professionalism. Like me and you met at a professional development training, and so it stood out. Like we're all looking, you know, business casual or trying to be professional, and it was a great conversation piece. It was a great way to network. It's a great way to start conversations, and I think that it definitely attracted me, gravitated me towards you to say, hey, I need to talk to this guy, regardless of just. Not even saying like you might have have more answers or be in the field, but it's just like, yo, I need to network. I need to connect with this person, get business cards. You know, like it does definitely set up a vibe or aura to other professionals. But I'm very curious, like, what is a student? How do they react when they first see you and they come in a session? And also, I want to even do a sidetrack. Like, what about someone that's like, first generation, low income, black, student? I don't know. How do they react to you too? They're like, are you able to connect that bridge with them, or I don't know? I'm very curious.
Well, how they all gauge, I've never actually sat down to ask you, hey, what did you think when you first came in here? But maybe I should try something like that. And I think maybe they get a little uneasy and then smile, kind of like an awkward joke has happened. But that's also what I want to do. It's outside of just how I dress, but I also play that into it, in that if I come out looking like this person who's going to be like, hello, let's head back to this room and I'll tell you about your future. We're going to have a serious discussion and then you're going to get serious about the business of your life. Let's carry on. And I don't do that. When I first come out and I meet a student in the lobby, first thing I'm going to do is I look up their name and I try it out a couple of times to make sure I can pronounce it, or at least I try a couple of different ways so that I can come out and say, hey, how you doing? Gosh, it's really hot out here. Have you melted? I've got a bowl if you need it anyway. And then I'll say something about, like, oh, by the way, your name, do you like it pronounced this way or this way? And I think that's one of the first signs of respect for anyone is to get their name right, or to at least try and make sure that you get it right. And then, but if I can, I'd like to go out there with something that'll make them laugh a little bit. To see, here's this guy in cuffs and collars, and he's giving you, like finger pistols and say, hey, kiddo, you ready to get started on this whole future thing? I know it's a bit creepy, but let's start this ride. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's kind of corny. It's pretty cheesy, but it made me laugh just now. So it gets the job done.
Well, it really does, because where I am and where I'm located, and even sometimes it's a big thing just to get students to admit, I need help, and to go out and seek it on themselves. And if you make that even, more awkward for them, that they have to go through all these administrative buildings and a very professional-looking place, you kind of feel like you're in the principal's office sometimes when you're just sitting there, and then out comes this person who looks like a professional, and they're acting like a total goof.
Yeah,
you just kind of like, wait, what? And that breaks all that expectation a little bit, and that's your opportunity to zing in there and start making a connection a little bit. Say, I want you to understand up front, I may look like the thing you're expecting, but I'm totally not.
I like that. I like
get
that.
In here and we're going to get talking.
I mean, I guess I do that in general, inadvertently, because I come out there like, who's this? And, but I think that's just the way I am. I try to be, I'm saying not try to be as authentic, but at the same time, it's like, I agree with you. Like, it's already some intimidation, like, this buildings and the office, and we've heard survey results that say that students feel like when they come to a career center, it's too, not too professional, but, that's intimidating, like they're going on a job interview and stuff like that. So I try to be as authentic and keep it real with the students as much as I can, but at the same time, my balance, when I say keep it real, the only balance I have to say that I'm a professional is that then we're going to get some work done. I say, let's get to the work, let's do this and that. But I joke a lot, and I just don't feel like it's that serious. It doesn't need to be, until, I guess, for certain people, it does need to be serious. Like when you get a real job interview, then come serious. But just for me, we're just helping you. Like, it's not that serious. And you're not at the doctor's office. You're not at the principal's office and things like that. And I definitely think of that. I think of, just humor and like, kind of like the Joker thing. Why so serious? Like, it's not that serious, The serious part is, for me, is actually like, we have tasks, stay on task, and not like stay on task, but like do some work. And I feel like I help the students, and tangibly they leave with something, like something to do. But at the same time, it's like, you're right. Like, there's no penalty. There's no grade. There's no, they're not getting an A, B, C on this. It's not that serious. But so, drawing back, another random pivot. But you said that your style was in a big shout out to your wife. You said, and I heard correctly, Art Deco, which I'm gonna have to Google that now. But when you said she shared that group, shared that style of clothing and genre, and is that like, did y'all meet like some kind of like online group for Art Deco style? Like, how'd y'all connect on that? Like, realize that that's the same kind of clothing y'all like?
Well, let me put it this way. I guess metaphor again, because it was almost like networking in a way. You want to know you want to have an idea of who you are and what you like, and be able to communicate that to people, and put yourself in a comfortable kind of setting, or in a comfortable sort of setup, like, say, you're dressed the way that you'd want to dress, to be able to have that confidence come to people, because we met at a costume party.
Oh, okay. So, you met at a costume party, like a Halloween, or just a costume party in a different month?
Well, it was a steampunk party, which is a whole different kind of fantasy genre.
I know about the steampunk. It's like the, like a Wild West movie with Will Smith or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly,
it's like future and past at the same time. See, the listeners don't know. Well, they actually do know. All my friends know. I'm like a super nerd, so I love all kinds of different sci-fi genres. Right now I'm on a Pokemon kick where I'm just like really watching old cartoons. I'm like 34 years old, a man child, but definitely steampunk. So you met at a So you met at a steampunk costume party. That's pretty dope. I mean, so technically, is that Art Deco style part of that steampunk?
Well, it was a pinstripe coat that I was wearing.
Oh, okay,
but,
gotcha.
When we had further conversations into then later on just starting to date, we were seeing more about style and what style that I did have and how much I was severely lacking. It was really evident to her. But in the fact of creativity and how I appreciated being able to having those things and being able to put it all together and to make a particular kind of look. So I could say I don't put on a suit, I put on a costume.
Gotcha.
And that
I like
puts
that.
me into a character.
I like that. And then also, like, okay, so when you said she was, like, up to par, or, I mean, not up to par, but she had a different level. She was the level, like, she helped you. What does she do for a living? And does she dress like that? She put on, quote, unquote, as you said, a costume for her job?
Well, she is a model, but I can tell you that she's, even before she was, that was very important to her, that having a good look and being, what do I say, like her first word she ever said was pretty, which was just perfect. I think it fits to her. And not a matter of like, and I don't mean anything negative by it, but so gotta like pink and gotta like girly things, but a matter of the look and the style and that came out of those eras and like from the 30s all the way into the 60s, but even an appreciation of like what a woman's style would be, because she did some, she's done historical interpretations, so what would be the dress of another time period too, how it came together, what was important about it, why this piece went here, why this piece went there, and again, having that whole look to put together and then convey to the rest of the world, so that, yeah, you may get a look which is, you know, extra looks that can be very uncomfortable for just about everybody on there, but to be able to show this look of I'm really put together and I've really put a lot of work into being this put together, and it's not just because I picked out of a catalog. I made all of this come together, and I'd be happy to tell you about it.
I love that. So, I mean, I'm picturing it in my head, so I mean, I'm probably way off, but like, you know, like those old like World War II pinup girl kind of things. Is that kind of what she looked like a little bit, like when she dressed up? You know what I'm talking about? Like the, you know,
not far away. Not far away.
I don't know. I mean, that's my imagination. I have a big imagination, so I'd be thinking like that, like the kind of like, you know, but more like the pinup model ones, not like the what's the girl, Rosie the whatever, what's it, Rosie the Riveter?
Yeah, Rosie the Riveter, not her,
yeah,
but
not like her, but more like the pinup style jump. Okay, wow, that's pretty cool. And so when you say also
no problem
like
picking up a rivet gun and working now.
Yes, and then what about when you say style, like creation? Does she also sew and make it herself?
Yeah, she taught me.
Sheesh, I love that. I love that. Like that. I love the fact of, quite honestly, you know, this podcast for me is creativity and my creative expression. And I love that other people have, there's way more than just singing and dancing, right? There's costume making and, you know, I love going to cosplay for comic book conventions. I love people being able to express creativity in different ways. And for what I'm hearing from you guys is like, this is a very creative outlet for you guys, like a creative way to navigate the world. The way that you creatively express yourself is through your dress, you know. I think that's pretty dope. I don't know. I really didn't have a question. That was just a statement.
Hey, I very much appreciate it, and good to hear that there's another.
I didn't really have a statement. So, y'all developed this together, and you're going through the day, and this is putting you into a mode of professionalism and your thing. Another big thing for me in regards that's really drawn me to a lot of this is I love communities, sense of community. So, for instance, me and you belong to the same professional career organization, and I love the community of, you know, meeting new people and sharing ideas. And that's definitely dope. So I always encourage anyone that's going out there, find your tribe, find your people. And when I say find your people, it's not race, it's not black, white, gender, or anything. It's like your people that have the vibe, the energy, the same energy. So you find your people in different circles. You know, you find your people in your fraternity. Like I'm in Alpha. You know, I found my people there. I found my people professionally in these organizations. I find my people in these different. Did you find your people also with the way you dress too? Do you find a community? Is there a community that y'all belong to where y'all are? That's the same kind of community.
Not really. It's
Okay.
and for the you could literally find the people who do dress in that same way, but it's not guaranteed. Oh yes, you also tend to raise your pinky and to dress bespoke. Well
Yes.
done.
Yes.
It's not quite like that, and there's no guarantee that the people aren't going to be jerks. But I like what you say about you've got to find your people. I guess the more modern thing might be you got to go find your ride or dies,
Yes.
and stick by those folks and stay with them. But the look communicates something initially, but it's also kind of like a good litmus test for us too, because there will be those like, "Why are you all dressed up?" and you have no appreciation for just dressing with a little bit of I guess class. Because my wife, we're not wealthy people, but we dress well, and that's the real difference. That we think we step out with class. And that's what we're trying to convey a little bit, is that you don't have to have money to have a sense of class. And it's also, we also dress up a little bit when we fly somewhere and go to the airport. And check this out, next time you go to the airport, look at everybody there and how they have dressed, and realize this is how they have chosen to present themselves to the world where they are and where they're about to travel to. That's how they're going to look when they get there. So you'll see the people who care about it and the people who don't. And we always want to show people we care about this.
I like that. I mean, honestly, my wife jokes with me. She's like, "Yo, I have 3 boys," and she always definitely says that same thing. Like, when you go out there in the world, looking sloppy, you look like people are not gonna take you serious, Philip. And I'm like, dang, my wife shading me. So I'm trying to make sure that my pants is not wrinkled and my shirt's tucked in, just like my dad used to make me do. And I used to hate that jump. My dad used to be so particular about dress. And now as I get older, I'm like, okay, I guess what they're saying. Like, like you are who you become, and you exhibit to the world who you exhibit to the world how you want to be treated. By me going out here and presenting myself as such, this is how I want to be projected to the world and treated. And so, I might take it a little more serious now. Definitely, there's nothing like, for me, I do definitely have that professional face, like when I take like a headshot and I feel good about myself. If you dress and exude confidence from your outfit, then you walk a little bit more confidently, right? You stand up, your shoulders up, your shoulders back a little bit more. You speak clearly, and not to say like, slang or not. I still, talk my stuff in a suit, but it's just like you walk different, you talk different. And I think that's one of the things too I want to express. I think that's why, quite honestly, I was so attracted to becoming a member of Alpha Phi Alpha. Was because when I looked at all the pictures, beyond like the fun stuff, when I looked at all the pictures of the guys going to meetings, or Martin Luther King, our famous members, and it's how sharp they look. We have a saying called Alpha Sharp. Like, come to the meeting Alpha Sharp. And so you'll see when we go to like really big functions and guys wearing suits with the crest on it. I mean, I was like, wow, man, these are black men. These are black men that are coming to do business. Like, they're smart. They look smart. I always say, like, dang, these dudes look smart. They look like, and mind you, we have brothers of my fraternity that are all different occupations, doctors, lawyers, educators like me. But it don't matter what their occupation was. It's like they just look like whatever occupation they were, they're doing it. Like, if you're a doctor, you're a damn good doctor just because you look good. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that I'm slowly appreciating the way that you go out in the world, and the way you dress is the way that you want to be known for, the way that you want to go through your day. If you want to be taken seriously, you dress seriously, if that makes sense.
Very, very much so. And when you were just talking about that too, one thing that I have noticed because at times when I want to find like a hat box or a good fedora or a stylish hat, I'm not going to stores that are going to be like Men's Big and Taller, like Hex or some brand on there. I usually go looking for a store that is more marketed towards an African American male customer, because that's where I'm going to see more of these kinds of hats on there. And with that, I see different styles of suits and different kinds of look. And there's so much more color to everything, things in reds and greens and so many kinds of blues. And with that, there are also different styles of suits. So that's one thing that I really do appreciate when I see black male professionals. Whenever I get something coming through, like my news feeds online, and it's coming from another local HBCU nearby, and just seeing like a shot of here are all these fraternity members, all these alumni standing upright, and everybody's in a suit. Nobody's in the same suit, and that's great.
I love that.
And you can tell which ones are kind of like, that's a fun suit, that is a serious suit, that is like that guy does taxes. This person's an entertainer.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's just all the way across.
Yo, my boys used to fry me because when I say my boys used to fry me, because Steve Harvey had them suits too. So if you wear like a weird suit, they'd be like, "Oh man, this dude got the Steve Harvey suit." And talking about the extra cut, like the long jacket that looks like it comes down to his knees, but it definitely there's different styles. And like quite honestly, that does project also an image to the world, because I know there was this in DC alone, there was this, like, I can't remember, Black Men Dress Up or something. I'll have to do some fact checking, but it was like a straight up meetup. They say, yo, meet up in front of the National African American Museum dressed up, and then they just took this really large group shot, like 100 black men dressed up in suits, to say we are putting out this image to the world. And it was, I gotta find it. I'm gonna put that link in the show notes when I find it. It was probably one of the dopest things I've seen. So if I see that junk again next year, I'm gonna try to get a nice suit and join up and just randomly go up there and pop up. And it was just people wearing nice suits. They did basically, they didn't even know each other. They just said, meet up here. We're gonna take a big group shot, and they took that group shot to project to the world, like, we're we're breaking the stereotypes through our dress. And I thought that was the dopest idea ever.
And I'll bet they did know each other after they took that group shot, though, because of that.
Yeah, and I mean, also, like, it was like sub pockets. Like a couple of them dudes were like, I saw it on my news feed because they tagged each other on Facebook, and so some of them were my alpha brothers, some were just guys that just professionals in the DC area. So it's like, by them tagging each other, it went past their web of network, so lots of different people could see it. You know what I'm saying? So that was pretty dope. So, I mean, I think it's just, there's something, like, as we go back to it, that's why I think on the podcast we started with your career journey, but I think I definitely wanted to touch upon in this episode how you brought your unique experiences and style to this profession, because, that does matter. I think that we all have a different way that we go about it. I can even draw back that I'm, like, very, I'm not saying I'm coining myself as positive filter or positivity, but that's like I think my vibe, that's my uniqueness, is like, I really want to be an optimistic career person. So, like, that's what energy I bring. Now, I don't know how I could dress like that. I don't know what clothing would make me look like a big ass suit with big smiley faces all on it. I don't know. Maybe I can do that. I don't know. But I
we'll
definitely
talk about this one later.
Yeah, maybe I just get a big suit that just has big smiley faces on it, or my logo, or all Mason. I kind of, quite honestly,
No.
I'm not gonna lie. I went to a UGA, UGA. The SEC don't play, right? I went to a football game down south, and they had the seersucker suits, but in the seersuckers was the logo of the team, like the Georgia Bulldog. I thought that was the coolest thing I've ever seen. I don't know.
They had the logos on the suits?
Yeah. It was a suit, but the whole pants was the dogs.
Wow.
It was really extra, but it was SEC football. And then they were playing. It was UGA versus Tennessee, and so there was a dude. There was multiple people with like really extra orange, Tennessee Volunteers colors, and I was like, damn, that's dope. Like, that was really dope. So someday down there, I gotta find me either a JMU seersucker or something like that, or a custom JMU suit for a football game. I don't know, or maybe a Mason game. I don't know. Maybe I'll just wear it randomly, be known as that guy that comes to all the games. But we already have a guy that like really has a style. His name is Doc Nix. He's the band director, and he brings a certain style when he legit. He's known for his very colorful suits that he wears when the school band plays. So it's definitely something like you become like known and you not say brand yourself in a bad way, but you become that guy that's known for that. I love that. I kind of love that. I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that, but maybe I was going is I need to find me a signature suit or something like that.
We'll talk about that one. I got a couple of ideas already rolling around in my head about that one, but
And then, like
I'll
you
say
said,
this.
the only thing I want is that whatever style that is, it exhibits positivity. I don't care what I just want the vibe of whatever I wear to exhibit maybe loud, extra, which I am, loud, extra, and very positive and upbeat. If I was a stylist, not a stylist, if I was going to a stylist and they said, "What do you want to look like?" and I would say, "That's what I want to look like." Yeah, we got to get to the drawing board on that one.
I think we will.
I was about to say I had a random thought that came to my head. It was about that. Now I lost it. Do you have like your outfits available or not available? You know, like do you have like a Pinterest page where people can follow you and see what you like to wear, and you made a Pinterest group of your clothes?
Oh my gosh. I have to do a whole photo session on this. I don't, but if it's something that could be more helpful, I think I could get something like that put together. At least a few basics of ideas and say, here's this, here's this, here's this.
You know, like the boards, like people follow boards and stuff. I'm about to look and see. I'm about to.
Oh, yeah.
I have a Pinterest page, but I'm about to start doing that too. See what kind of look. Cause I think now you inspired me. I don't know, you said for a budget, but you inspired me to like, I want to look more sharp at work.
Okay. Then, let's start that conversation. We could do just a whole nother podcast talk on that and just like thrift store buying and knowing a good tailor, because that's a huge part of the whole thing is you don't have to break your bank to look really good.
Hello. Okay, dope. So now we already got coin for another episode. So we're reaching. This is a great episode. We already reaching. So we're at the portion of my show which we call shot for shot. Obviously it's during the day, so we're not drinking. But shot for shot means you get to ask me any random question you want. I get to ask you a random question I want, and that's just kind of how we go. So for the shot for shot, you want first or I go first?
Okay. Who was the first person that steered you on the path towards helping out people with careers in higher ed? Okay,
so I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I will shout out to my mentor Ken Grant. He passed away recently, but I give a lot of kudos and love to him. So, quite honestly, in the story of Ken, who a lot of people will know him in my current job. He came to one of my classes, Ken did, and all he did was a resume and cover letter review. This is for the career class that changed my life. And he said at the end of that, thank you. He's like, if any of y'all are interested, we offer an internship at our career center while you're in grad school, and that would help you fulfill your we had to have for our program, you had to have field experience, right? So some people work for the CSB, some people work for schools, whatever. But he's like, if you're interested, you can come holler at me. And that was a while ago. That was like early on in the program. So I had like a whole year left. A whole year before I even had to do the internship. So I had a whole fall and spring before I had to worry about this. But he inspired me so much. I was like, dang, there's a career center here on campus. I knew there was a career center, but I was like, dang it, you could do your internship here. I was so interested that I literally stalked the dude. I harassed him. So I would send him emails and say, I said, Ken, or Mr. Grant, before you say, oh, of course, call me Ken. He was so chill. He was like the man. He said, I said, oh, I'm really interested. Can I do an informational interview with you? He said, sure. I said, can I come and do a site visit for the Career Center? Sure. How you doing? Just checking in with you. And he said, literally, he hit me back with an email and said, Philip, he said, you're good, man. Like, stop. You got the internship. He said, you got the internship, man. I know you're eager. You got it. Don't worry, man. You got it. And then he was the internship supervisor. So he was like legit hands-on my mentor. And his demeanor, he was so chill. He changed, like, I would say, like, I give him mad credit. I try to stay in touch. He got sick and passed away. But I literally would give him mad credit. He is the one who literally really shaped my life and gave me lots of direction early on. And so I give a lot of love and a lot of credit to him for my career path, especially in career counseling. He was the man. So he probably doesn't, I told him, I'm not very shy of telling someone how much they mean to me, but I used to always be like, Ken, man, you changed my life, man. I thank you so much and all that stuff. He's like, Phil, stop it. Because he was so humble, too. He was so humble. He was like, yo, stop, man. You're gassing me up. And I was like, but you did. Like, you really had a big influence on me. So, and he was good. Like, legit, he had that internship. Like, that was a separate part of his job. Obviously, his 9 to 5 was the actual career counselor, but he was responsible for that internship program. And so, I mean, we have like a little mini alumni group. He brought so many people through that program. He had so many people that he was the internship coordinator or supervisor for. That a lot of people's careers are because of him. They were due to him. So when he passed, it was very sad for a lot of people. A lot of people came back that were doing all these crazy different things in the field of career counseling. They came back and gave their respects to him. And it also brought home to me, I'm pretty sure he was just chilling and being a normal guy, but I don't think he realized his impact on so many people. That's pretty much the most remarkable thing about that, too, is that most people that have a huge impact on others are just chilling. Mm-hmm. Like they just doing. He's like, I'm just doing my job. I'm just the internship coordinator. I'm just the internship supervisor. But they don't know that on the back end. He doesn't know on the back end how anxious people are to start their career, and he could have been a really bad supervisor, and people are like, man, you know what? Screw this. I don't want to do this kind of job. Like, he turned me off from the field, but he actually motivated so many people to join the field. So his impact is pretty big. So that's Ken. All right,
good.
So I got one. So you live in the 757, right? And you live
yes, sir.
You live temporarily in the 540, the bird. Are you first of all, are you a native of Virginia?
Since 1991, when the Navy brought my family here.
And when you say 91, you're talking about the Tidewater area then, right?
Yeah, I was out in Virginia Beach. My father was in the Navy at the time, and that was, I think, my 7th move, and I was 11 years old.
So you're a military brat, just like me. All right, name for the listeners, if you can, up and now, pack your bags, no restriction, no budget, and let's stay within the United States. If you can move to 3 other cities in the United States, what 3 cities would you move to and why?
I like the feeling in Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay.
Also, a place called, sorry?
And I was about to say, I've been watching this, what's the show on Bravo? Southern Charm. I think that takes place in, I kind of put myself out there that I watch Bravo shows, but because my wife watches it. But yeah, Charleston got a good vibe, because on that show. Okay, so we got Charleston. What's the other one?
Eugene, Oregon, which apparently it's got a real strong appeal to it because my wife and I were out in Oregon visiting some distant family of hers, and we just stopped to refuel, and we kind of looked around and looked at each other and said, I like it here. Yeah, me too. This is weird,
yes.
But
yes.
And and aside from that, maybe just because that was where I was when I was 7 years old. I was living in Newport, Rhode Island, but I really liked there. They had hills, they had ocean, they had green spaces. They just had a little bit of everything there, and something about that I really did like. So I'd say off the top of my head, those 3.
That's perfect. Well, we really hit I think this is a great episode, obviously now, knowing how it is. We're going to have to do a part 2, and we're going to link up. But now this is the end of the show. At the end of the show, I call it shout-outs and plugs, which please send all these plugs and shout-outs, or not the shout-outs, but the plugs to me so I can put them in the show notes. But the floor is yours. Shout out to anyone you want to shout out, give some love to, and then some plugs if you have anything that you want the listeners to follow you on or any creative things that you want to share with the listeners. So the floor is yours, Andy. Shout outs and plugs.
Oh, man, for particulars, I was totally unprepared. So I would say Shout out to all the career centers out there at all the universities, but for also those who will maybe not be working in the college system, shout out to all the workforce centers as well, who are helping other people just to figure out their way, even if they aren't going through that 4 years of scheduled academic programming on there. And to the individuals, for all of you out there who may be listening in on this, or maybe you know somebody who should be listening in on this that are having some trouble finding their way or finding how to believe in what they can do, do not stop. Do not think that this is the end. Even if you just give it enough time, it's going to change things around. So it's not set in stone unless you believe it is. So
perfect.
Probably not all the shout-outs you're looking for, but
no, it's perfect. And there's any plugs that you have for the listeners?
Oh man,
IG, like your model, your wife's IG page, if she has a model page or anything like that.
Oh man, I'd even have to like pull away from my phone to look all that stuff up. But let me put it this way.
How about this?
If you're looking for,
yeah. How about this? You get back.
Yeah, I said let's schedule another one, and we'll do another talk on here, and we'll have some actual visuals maybe that we can get into and that we can reference on a Pinterest page and give that out.
Perfect. I love it. So thank you so much for being on the show. I really, really appreciate you. We definitely we're gonna have to schedule a part 2. We're gonna have a schedule of part 2. We'll develop another outline for that. As I said earlier, you put out the vibe of how you dress was very professional, but also very welcoming to meet new friends and stuff like that. So I definitely appreciate you. I definitely knew that I had to get you on the episode. So I'm glad we actually did this. All the listeners out there, please leave a question or hit me up or listen, whatever. Share this episode with your family and friends. That's how this podcast keeps going. Always thank my guests, and have a good one.
Thanks for having me, Phil.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Positive Filter, a podcast that focuses on family, friends, career, with a little self-help along the way. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your family and friends, and like the Facebook page, Spreading Positivity of Movement. Thanks for listening.